Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're one day away from the weekend, and man, do we have one great guest tonight from Askapol. This guy is tapped into the UFO world. Journalist Matt Laslo is going to join us momentarily. But first, let's say hello to each and every one of you in our YouTube chat tonight, including Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position, Kitty Caddywhack with the silver, Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing the bronze medal tonight. Robert Lamoth and Race Fan, nice to see you. Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show about aliens and UFOs nice and smooth. So thank you, Mel, for lubing us on up. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship is here. Frankie B, how are you? Candace is here. Candace will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Mama Catherine, mwah, I love you, my dear. I hope you had a wonderful day, and thank you for your lovely text message. I always appreciate that. You're going to enjoy this one, I promise. Moving on down on our roll call, let us say hello next to Jaquetta. How are you tonight? Thank you for coming on in. And who is next on our list? Well, let's take a little peek here. As soon as it catches up, there we go. Creepy Pasta, nice to see you. And then we get through a long conversation. And Road Flare, how are you tonight? Millennium, my man, thanks for coming on in. Carol Amario and Operation Shutdown, good to see you. Rose Demaray is here. Rose will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Super Sensible, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. And since you're new, do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell, but let us earn it from you first. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Kurt M., thanks for joining us. Destiny Rocks, thank you for having us. Glenn John McEnroe, the Pride of Wimbledon. Jay Trueseeker and Jaron Carter, thank you all for coming on in. Stargazer, nice to have you here as we continue on with our roll call. There's Corey, how you doing? Emperor Penguin, thank you for coming on in. Thomas Rock, Kirk W., how you guys doing? And we have Al Gray over on Twitch. Bench press 400 pounds, 37 times to warm up for Matt Laslo tonight. And he is jacked for tonight's show. All right. Scrolling on down, I'm Hardcore on X. Thank you for joining us as well. We say hello to Undead Jed. And Ace Main, been a while since we had you here. Thanks for coming on in. And let's see here. Who else is coming here? Let's see. Scrolling on down. Did I miss a bunch? Hold on. Did I miss a bunch? No, I did not. And Area 54, thank you for jumping in and kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support our show on a nightly basis. So thank you very much, Mr. Area 54. Always good to see you again, my friend. Sensational Shelley, it's been a while. Where have you been hiding there, darling? Walter Kochabinski and Dave Tiger Williams, he'll drop the gloves for you. Lovey Love, a.k.a. Vanessa, thank you for coming on in. Stargazer, how you doing? All right, let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to have a great guest from Askapol Online, one of the best journalists in the UFO world right now. Matt Laslo is here for the first time ever on this show. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little geeked up for this one because I've wanted to chat with him for a long time, and we're just going to go with the flow, see where this one goes. We're about to wrap up on roll call here on our YouTube side as we say hello to Luna Co. How are you? Caged on the inside. Thanks for coming on in. Awesome Cat Chaser. Good to see you. Kurt W. Thank you for that great super chat. Very much appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Thank you. And who is next on our list? It's Commonwealth Andrew. Good morning to you from the UK. And Polly Rotterman. Nice to see you. Paramarv, nice to have you here. The super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have an incredible show tonight. Journalist, investigative journalist, and a guy who's not afraid to put up a challenge when it comes to the UFO world. Matt Laslo from Askapol will be here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, we're going to kick things off with Swamp Dweller and another spooky story. Then the UFO wizard Josh Rutledge will be here to wrap things up with the UFO report. All right, let's get right to it. Matt Laslo is an award-winning journalist and founder of Askapol, bringing real journalism back to the UFO and UAP conversation. Reporting directly from Capitol Hill, Laslo tracks down lawmakers, intelligence officials, and Pentagon officials who are quietly shaping the future of the UFO disclosure world. His fearless coverage cuts right through political spin and secrecy, exposing the power dynamics and behind-the-scenes debates driving the modern UAP narrative. Through Askapol, Matt interviews key decision makers, whistleblowers, and insiders who are changing how the world sees UFOs, whether it's uncovering classified briefings, analyzing congressional hearings, or revealing how money and politics influence the disclosure movement. Matt brings credibility and transparency. Yeah, there's a word we hear a lot out of DC, transparency, to one of the most complex stories of our time. Let's bring him on in. I've wanted to interview him for a long, long time, and I'm so proud that he said yes to come on. Matt Laslo, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I cannot wait to fall short of your expectations, brother.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that. No, I got to tell you, man, for the last couple of years, you have literally come out of nowhere to be a real influential source of journalism and credibility in this UFO world. And how did this all begin for you? Why did you take on the UFO subject?
If you remember, like, this feels like ages ago, but what was it? Start of 2023, before Grush, came out with his bombshell. American airspace was invaded by a balloon. And then, so Congress, because this balloon was floating from we first heard about it when it was over Montana, but then it went all the way to South Carolina. And then Congress, because the American people were flipping out, Congress had a couple classified briefings. And at the end of that, if you remember, the Air Force shot down 3 objects, UAPs, because they didn't know what they were. We still don't know what they are technically. But the Air Force didn't stop shooting down objects because they weren't there. The Air Force stopped shooting down random objects invading U.S. airspace because the American people freaked out. So I think it was like 3 days in a row, Air Force shot down these objects, and then they just stopped. Again, not because there were no more unknown objects in U.S. airspace. And like, take a step back. We drop about $1 trillion a year on our Pentagon. And I'm like, wait, are we getting invaded by a balloon? And so then, there's all this intense pressure from the media and lawmakers, and then everyone just went away. It happened, and then it was gone. But then David Grush dropped his bombshell, I believe that May. And I was like, oh, wait, you all haven't even finished this debate, and you guys are trying to not have this debate that Grush just put in your lap. And so then as a congressional junkie, I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to all 100 U.S. senators about Grush's claims. Because, I'm a professor, teach at Johns Hopkins and some other schools. I've been covering Congress 19 years now. I'm a congressional junkie. Like most people in the press corps in Washington try to climb the ladder to the White House. I don't want to cover the White House. I have for years, but Congress is constitutionally where the power is. This is my little pocket constitution. And so even though we have a terrible, derelict, lazy, ridiculous Congress, I love to be that mirror that just shows them how terrible and worthless they are. Because Congress is of both parties, going back to the Vietnam War, have just like signed away all their constitutional powers to the executive branch. And they basically just have tried to wash their hands and say like, oh, it wasn't me. No, Congress. Power of the purse is you. Power over the Pentagon is you. So, no, I'm not going to let you get away with shirking your responsibility. And so that's where it was fun going up to each one of them and asking not so much about David Grush's first claim, because I'm like, all right, you can either prove or disprove that there's recovered craft or biologics. It was David Grush's second claim that really woke me up. And that's the one I brought to lawmakers, because his second claim was, hey, there are these special access programs or SAPs that even though they're funded by you, Congress, because all funding has to come from Congress, they are hidden from you. And so it was fun to go up to all 100 senators and just be like, hey, why are you terrible at your job? Because to date, even though Grush testified publicly in the House, to date, Congress has not refuted David Grush. He might be a piñata. There might be leaks about him, and he's actually a congressional staffer these days. But as much as he's been derided, nobody has just come out and been like, hey, this guy's full of it. Here's X, Y, and Z, boom, and refuted him. Nope. In fact, in this Congress, they just don't even want to talk about the issue. Not because they've answered anyone's questions, but because they just want to move on, which gives us all more questions.
How have you found covering this subject of UFOs? I'm still a UFO guy. I haven't switched over to UAP, refused to, because I've had too many people on the inside tell me UAP are man-made objects that we're covering as UFOs. So I'm wondering, how have you—
Wait, real quick, and people always call me out on this. In Washington, I use UAS, unmanned aerial system. I use drone because, at least specifically on Capitol Hill, they won't talk about a UFO. They'll roll their eyes if I bring up UFO. UAP, the last Congress, they would talk about it a little bit, but now they won't. But they'll talk about drones over Langley. But I'm like, wait, if the Pentagon tells Virginia's senators, one of them who's the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, if they tell him for a year, 2 years running that, hey, we have no idea what shut down Langley Air Force Base for 17 days, cool. Y'all can call it a drone swarm, but that's a UAP or UFO swarm. And so I use all the terms interchangeably because my subjects do.
So what is the attitude, the real attitude of this subject on the Hill? Okay, because for many of us who are on the outside, me in a different country, you know, the kind of the attitude that I see of it in looking at it from a branched out point of view is that you have this little conspiracy club that is there to try and take advantage of bringing this subject out, but they're made up of a lot of congressional people who don't have as much pull as others do. Is it to keep these people busy, or is there a genuine interest within Washington, D.C. to find out what these are?
Well, so it's actually funny that you said conspiracy club. Very well put. Professor Laslo gives you an A+ on the iteration there. But the first piece that I did on UAPs was for Wired Magazine, where I'm a contributor. And it, like, they work at magazine speed. So everyone else had already done their David Grush story like a week or so later, after I already did 12 or 15, whatever, interviews with lawmakers, finally got the commission from Wired, and everyone else had done this story. So I had to do it the magazine angle. So that first piece really ticked off UFO X, UFO Reddit, because that Wired piece put this issue within the context of this very conspiratorial Congress, where we have anti-vaxxers, etc. Some of those same people are the ones who are leading on this issue. And so initially when that piece dropped, the entire UAP community, UFO community, it just felt like they were just beating up on me, like, how dare you mock us, blah, blah, blah. And I'm pretty sure it was Dean Johnson, like partway through the day, after there's hundreds of tweets at me, someone just literally strips my voice out of my Wired piece. And I'm pretty sure it was Dean Johnson. He's just like, hey guys, we have 9 different federal lawmakers discussing our issue in this piece. Like literally Democratic leadership, ... And they were just like, wait, no one in power ever discusses these issues. And so that's where, you know, I've been retweeted by AOC. I was Vice News correspondent when they got into power. So we joked that I was the squad correspondent for Vice. So like AOC's retweeted me, Omar, all of them. Matt Gaetz, he's retweeted me for my drug coverage, all that. And then, quick aside, you see the most disgusting and disheartening parts of the internet when either Matt Gaetz or AOC retweets you. You see their rape threats that they get, death threats that they get. Like, that's the internet they live in. So everyone's just like, please be better. I can be an angry jerk online, but just please remember, these politicians do listen to you all. So yeah, be intense, get at them, make your point. Maybe don't have to drop the F-bombs, especially don't do rape threats. But anyway, all that to say, when I've been retweeted by these big million follower accounts, I would never see a big spike in my followers. When I did that Wired piece, putting the UAP issue in the conspiratorial Congress issue, I literally saw like 3,000 new followers, and I had owned Askapol.com for years. And I was like, wait, I'm going to deploy this and test this out in this community because I've never seen this movement. I'm like, hey, let me take their questions and take them to their lawmakers. And seems to be working because y'all make me look smart. Keep the questions coming. But to get back to your actual question there, this Congress is different, and I'm still trying to figure out. And if anyone out there knows, please let me know. I'm on all the encrypted apps. You can find me. DMs are open. But there was a change from the 118th Congress, the last Congress, where we had David Grush testify publicly in 2023. Then at the end of that Congress, Senator Gillibrand, she had a public UFO hearing in the Senate. I know Gillibrand gets a lot of flack from the community, but everyone, take a step back. The United States Senate had a public UFO hearing. Now, in the 119th Congress, I can't get a single U.S. senator, except for rounds. I can't get a single U.S. senator to even talk about the issue on mic. And so with Trump's reascension, for lack of a better term, into office, I can't tell, like, that has changed the mood throughout Washington. Like, even milk that wasn't politicized before is now politicized, like sidewalks are now politicized in DC. And so, like, I can't tell if it's just those hyper partisan, and I would even argue, Professor Laslo would argue, hyper tribalistic now, because we have more of a warring mentality as opposed to a disagreement of ideas, which I would say is hyper partisanship. Sorry, I digress. And so again, I'm trying to figure out what changed. But with Republicans getting swept into power and having House, Senate, and the White House, one different thing we saw with Republican leaders is, at least according to UAP caucus co-chair Tim Burchett, he tells me that the UAP caucus is effectively dead for all practical purposes. He's like, no, that's now the Secrets Task Force. And I probably get a little controversial here. I see the Secrets Task Force as Republican leader, or pardon me, just party leaders. This isn't a partisan issue. It just seems like party leaders gave this topic the biggest eye roll they could. And because party leaders didn't care. Like, the UAP caucus had to fight to get Grush in. They had to fight to get skiff briefings in the last Congress. And they fought, and they won a lot of those battles. So then this Congress starts. What do those same party leaders do? They don't empower the UAP caucus. They don't give them a select committee like they'd been asking for. And a select committee comes with a budget, subpoena power, et cetera, an actual staff. Like David Grush, he's hired personally now by Congressman Burleson from Missouri, which is a beautiful little workaround. Again, covering Congress 19 years, I've never seen a committee or a person on a committee hire one of the whistleblowers. It'd be like the Armed Services Committee hiring Edward Snowden. It's just kind of like unheard of. And so, they have been smart. They've had to like play within the bounds, but it kind of feels like everything was set up against the Secrets Task Force. Because again, you have party leaders who eye roll the UFO issue. What do? Instead of just a select committee focused on that, or all these drone incursions, UFO incursions, instead of that, what do? They take these lawmakers who are kind of more fringe, Freedom Caucus folks, and they empower them to tackle every conspiracy ever known to America. Literally, JFK conspiracy, RFK, MLK Jr., COVID-19, the origins of 9/11. Like, party leaders did not expect answers on 80, 90, maybe 95% of the issues in front of the Secrets Task Force, which makes me think this UAP caucus was kind of duped. Again, please prove me wrong. Anyone on the Secret Task Force or UAP caucus, please prove me wrong. But what did we see in the first Secret Task Force meeting? Numerous issues were discussed, not UFOs.
Right.
Didn't make the
I
cut.
want to cut you off right there, and I apologize. We got 4 minutes to go before we have to go to break. What is, Matt, this secret caucus when it comes to UFOs? What is that?
Well, so the secrets, I think the official name is the Task Force on the Declassification of Secrets. So a big, wonky congressional name. Like, in one sense, it does make sense because we're in this period where people are, across party lines, are questioning vaccines. So yeah, like, let's get down to the science and really discuss that. That's not what the Secret Task Force is doing. If anything, we'll see. I'll shut up a little bit right there. But we'll see. The ball's definitely in their court. But so here, when I talk to Republican senators about the Secret Task Force, so Senator Mike Rounds, who's the UAPDA, he's the co-author with Schumer on the UAP Disclosure Act. When I first brought up, it was a few months into the new Congress, I informed him about the Secret Task Force. If this task force was meant to really give us answers on all these secrets, you'd think some U.S. senators would have heard of it? Nope. First time U.S. senators heard of it was me and Askapol pushing him on it. When I brought it up to Mike Rounds, he listened to it. We put the full audio out at Askapol, UAPs.com. Rounds just giggles in their faces. And I'm like, wait, sir. And he goes, no. This is great. Keep them busy. So literally from a senior Republican U.S. senator, you kind of get the mind of Republican leaders in the House where he's like, no, keep these fools busy. Because, senators hadn't heard of the Secret Task Force. Most House members, when I asked them, even about the UAP hearing a week after it, they didn't hear about it at all. And so Secret Task Force now really has to wrestle with this. They have been relegated to the waste bin of Congress. And that's why we see someone like Jasmine Crockett, firebrand Democrat who goes viral all the time. She's like far left. There's a reason. And when Robert Garcia was the ranking member, before he got propelled to ranking member of the entire oversight committee, one of his staffers was like, no, Jasmine Crockett will never get it. One of Garcia's staffers literally laughed her off, and then she got ranking member. That's because Garcia doesn't take her seriously, and that means the party, whether it's Democrats, because Garcia is only empowered by Democrats, his party doesn't take it seriously, and we know Republicans aren't taking it seriously.
So basically what they're doing with about less than a minute to go here, let's say 35 seconds, is they're just coming together, hanging on out, talking about some fun subjects, but really it's not going anywhere.
Well, this is where I'm constant devil's advocate. No, we've seen, especially with Tulsi Gabbard as ODNI, Director of National Intelligence, she's released, it seems like, some new previously classified stuff on JFK. It seems like we're going to get some new stuff on, I forget, during government shutdowns, the press corps works 12 and 14-hour days, so I'm a little fried. But yeah, they're very active, and they would say they're making headway. And especially on the UAP issue, Congressman Burleson has proven himself really
Hold that thought.
deft working in the background.
Matt Laslo from Askapol, UAPs.com is our guest. When we return, more on what Washington, D.C. really thinks about UFOs from the man himself. We'll bring him back here momentarily. All right, we're clear. Remember, our audience can hear us on YouTube and social media. Great start, my friend. Great start.
Yes, sir.
Man, I could do probably a week's worth of shows with you on this. This is already incredible.
I'm enjoying it. How much longer on this break?
We got about 4.5 minutes.
Ooh, I can
I'll
kill
put
it.
you in the green room. There you go. All right. How's that for a start, people? How's that for a start? This is a great show so far. One thing I like about Matt is he's not holding back. He's just telling it as it is, what he has seen. That's what good journalists do. Strong start. Strong start. Thank you, T-Bone. Thank you, Necessary Dialogue. Yeah, this is a great catch for us. So glad you guys are here experiencing this one live. Thank you, Terrence Wills. Appreciate that. Almost time to get it trimmed up again. Getting a little bushy. Got to get it cleaned up. I wish it was a vodka milkshake. Thank you, Creepy. That's right, Paul Demon. Matt is our boots on the ground. That's right. Keep it tight. Thank you, Area 54. I think that's one of the best nicknames we have in here is Area 54. That's a good one. Oh, that's Moody. That's why I don't trim my own beard, man, because I would absolutely butcher it. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you, Human Carl, for coming on in. Don't bite your tongue too hard, okay? We don't want you to hurt yourself. You need that one. It helps with taste buds and tasting food and everything else. About 2 minutes to go. Gorgeous Kim Jellin. You know what she's doing right now? She's sitting under a blanket and flossing her teeth at the same time while listening. Guaranteed. 100% guaranteed. Thank you, Terrence Wills. Fast Hemi, how are you? Hope you're enjoying tonight. I knew it. All right. What we got here? About 1 minute. Thank you tonight so far to Necessary Dialogue, Pam Harris, Kurt W., Area 54, and thank you, Shelly, for becoming our latest member on our YouTube membership. We really do appreciate it. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. Woo-poo, how you doing? Nice to have you here. And we'll get Matt back in here. And we're going to get going here in about 27 seconds, Matt.
Yes, sir.
All right. Good times here on the mighty SOR. All right. 15 seconds.
Mic check 1, 2.
Sound beautiful. Thank you. And here we go.
Yes, sir.
Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Journalist Matt Laslo from Askapol is here to talk about UFOs in Washington, D.C., the real story behind all of this that's going on in our world. But first, we want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. AskapolUAPs.com. Investigative journalist Matt Laslo is here with us tonight, breaking down everything that is happening in Washington, D.C., on the UFO subject. And Matt, we are so delighted to have you here. Thank you for coming on in.
Hey, pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We have seen a lot of discussion and debate with these whistleblowers that are allegedly coming out. Now, one of the things that I brought up to my audience, I'm curious your opinion, outside of maybe David Grush, have we really had true whistleblowers come out other than experiencers that, hey, I was out for a smoke break on base and all of a sudden I saw a black triangle above me? I mean, that's just an eyewitness account. Why do we keep trying to push them as whistleblowers?
Well, this is the thing that I'm pushing the Secrets Task Force on, because, again, this is a weird Congress. It's night and day from the last Congress. But I'm like, wait, after this last hearing, we had Congressman Burleson tell us at Askapol UAP that, hey, if these whistleblowers aren't going to come and talk to us, then we'll subpoena them. And I was like, wait. Didn't a lot of that hearing focus on whistleblower protections? And then also in the past Congress, I believe, for some reason, the number 40 sticks out in my mind, but I know it was dozens, as in more than one dozen. But there were dozens of whistleblowers who were knocking on at least the Senate's door because they didn't trust Arrow. And so I'm like, wait, guys, why are you threatening to subpoena these people who are either afraid for their vocations, lives, families? We saw Grush's medical history, disgustingly. They tried to use it as a negative that he had mental health issues. I've had mental health issues, and I'm a professor at some of the nation's top schools, Hopkins, Boston University, etc. So you just saw the Pentagon and these people go to the lowest they could go, especially knowing that the Pentagon, the number is wrong, but the number is 21 suicides a day. And you have people in the Pentagon leak mental health issues about a whistleblower. Like, that's disgusting. And so shame on all you. Why isn't the Secrets Task Force talking about that? Instead, they're threatening folks like Grush with subpoenas. And I'm like, wait. Why don't you give them a safe space? Whether that's initially a skiff, gain their trust, and then maybe convince them, hey, you have an important story to tell the nation. Maybe do it dark screen or whatever, black out their face if needed. And that's where, it feels to me like there are people with a lot more stories to tell, whether true, fake, that's not up for me, but they have stories they want to tell. And it doesn't seem like the U.S. government has created that space for them, whether that's Congress itself, Lord knows, Arrow. And it does seem like Arrow under now in the post Kirkpatrick era, they have taken the issue more seriously, and it seems like some whistleblowers who reach out to me do trust them more. But we'll see if Arrow can ever overcome, for one, the fact that they're in the Pentagon. And so Arrow is only ever going to be as good as what they're allowed to see. And the top brass is in control of what they see and what they can tell us. And so knowing that their puppet master is the Pentagon top brass, there's a strong argument to be made that putting Arrow within the Pentagon was a mistake from its inception. But the jury's still out on that. It seems like in the community, jury's already rendered its verdict, and that might have crippled Arrow because the community distrusts Arrow so deeply. It just might be useless. They just might have to do away with it. But we'll see. Under who's the new guy? Is it Phillips?
Tim Phillips.
Timothy Phillips. He does seem to he seems to, for one, take the issue more seriously, and he seems to allow, and I'm not defending him or Arrow, but he does seem to allow, how do I put it? Under Kirkpatrick, he just talked about, look, we know what this stuff is, you morons, we know what this is. And it's like, cool, bro, nobody cared about the stuff that you can prove. We care about the stuff in your report that you can't prove or disprove, and I think in their last report under Kirkpatrick, there were still a couple hundred objects that they couldn't identify, and he just wanted to talk about the 500 or so that they could. It's like, shut up, bro. Like, you are having a different debate than anyone else, and I think it's called wagging the dog, and so that's where Phillips does. He's got a little more trust. Wait, let me rip on Kirkpatrick a little more.
Oh, please.
Nobody forget this. When, I think my last interview with Senator Marco Rubio, before he became Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and I'd covered him for years. I covered him before he even got to Congress for WLRN, Miami's NPR station. And so him and I have known each other since before he was in Congress. And so he just looks at me one day, and he's always, because I covered him for Playboy, Rolling Stone, covering cannabis, he would always look at me and be like, are you going to ask me a marijuana? Are you going to ask me a pot question, Matt? And that's why I always like to throw him for loops. And I was like, sir, I'm going to ask you a UFO question. He goes, no, give me a pot question. Give me a pot question. But Rubio, one of the last things he told me before he became Secretary of State was, Kirkpatrick, he was so frustrated, and go to Askapol and listen to the interview because it's so telling, because Rubio is so frustrated that I'm even asking him these questions, because he's like, that's why we created Arrow. And you kind of get this glimpse into the Senate thinking around Arrow, which to me, in that interview, what Rubio is saying is, hey, us as the Senate, the issue finally rose to the surface. Enough of our constituents were talking about it, big enough presence online, we had to deal with it. And to deal with it, we created Arrow because we didn't really want to deal with it. We wanted to outsource our thinking. So Arrow to me feels like the Senate outsourced its thinking on UFOs. And that's where Rubio was so pained, because he's literally like, I don't want you to be asking me these questions. We literally set up this agency to answer those questions. And it's literally oh, we washed our hands of this. Well, no, you thought you did, but Kirkpatrick failed his most simple mandate from the Senate. And if you go back and listen to those interviews, it was Rubio. Senator Rounds was also frustrated and just kind of laughed off Kirkpatrick. Senator Gillibrand, she's a little more Arrow seems to really be her baby. So she seems to really coddle it and really have hope that, this ugly toddler can one day walk. And it's like, man, kid ain't doing so well right now. And so she'll be a harder one to dislodge. But that also means she's got a seat at the table. So folks like Phillips and Kirkpatrick really do listen to her. So that empowers her. And so, yeah, but yeah, again, listen to those interviews. Every senator, bipartisan, just took a big dump on Kirkpatrick's head. And so then to see him out there talking to my colleagues and, the MSM or mainstream media and seeing him on this revival tour, it's like, no. You failed, Kirkpatrick. Like, you don't get a platform. Like, oh, I see you providing, 24 sources to the Wall Street Journal for that big deep dive they did. And I trust the Wall Street Journal. They do great reporting. I'm like, to get that article out and to have, as they say in the piece, 24 sources, it's mind-bending until it's not. Because it's like, wait, how could you get 24 people to say this? Well, if they're Kirkpatrick's boys and girls, well, they're going to carry the party line. So, and even like that whole piece, I'm like, yeah, I could see the Air Force doing a psyop on top of a psyop on top of a psyop. Like, we're America. Like,
that's what you do.
Like, that's what we do too well.
Right. I do want to ask you though, we have to make a correction here. Dr. John Kozlowski is the head of Arrow now.
That's right. That's right.
We mentioned Tim Phillips, but no, it's Dr. John
Phillips was interim, right?
Was underneath Sean Kirkpatrick. The dislike for Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick is very prevalent in the UFO world. We've heard Nancy Mace go at him. We've heard Anna Paulina Luna call him a liar. We've heard some very distasteful comments that we don't usually hear about program heads. Why has there been such public vitriol for Kirkpatrick, and Kozlowski really flies under the radar?
But because Kirkpatrick is an abject failure, like point blank, he failed at his most basic duty, which, according to Senator Rounds, Gillibrand, because under Kirkpatrick's tenure as the head of Arrow, you literally had whistleblowers going to U.S. senators' offices, and that's telling. They weren't going to House members' offices. Some did, and some gained trust there, but you kind of had what felt like a flood, and I think that's where I got the dozens or 40. It seemed like there was a lot of whistleblowers lining up at senators' offices, and that's where Rounds. Oh wait, because before Rubio went to become Secretary of State, I believe it was maybe last fall or something, but you had a series of interventions, should I call them? But Senator Gillibrand, she went to Arrow, had a one-on-one meeting with Kirkpatrick, hounding him. She would do it gently, but being like, hey, whistleblowers to coming to us, they don't trust you. Well, then you also had Senator Rounds, the UAPDA co-author with Schumer. He went and had a one-on-one sit down. This is literally like, instead of Kirkpatrick going to the principal's office, the principal went and visited the naughty pupil. Well, so then, not just Gillibrand, not just Rounds, one Democrat, one Republican, then you had a bipartisan meeting with then Intelligence Committee, Senate Intelligence Committee Vice Chair Mark Warner and Chair Mark Warner, Vice Chair Rubio. The two of them had a one-on-one meeting with Kirkpatrick where they presented the same stuff. Literally, Warner, who I've known for years, covering him for Virginia Public Radio, Warner literally cared less about this issue. Warner literally just wants Matt Laslo to stop asking about this issue, which is why he went down to Kirkpatrick's office to be like, hey, bro, you are failing. And so Kirkpatrick had a meeting, not just of the principal, but the principal and the vice principal. Like, he's an abject failure. And like, shame on my colleagues in the mainstream media. Like, no wonder no one believes us. We fail at the most simple tasks. For one, why isn't anyone asking about American airspace being invaded by a balloon? That just happened a couple years ago. Oh, a year ago, we had over the now president's country club in New Jersey, UFOs that were in that sensitive airspace. Oh, and where else were there UFOs over Jersey? Also over 2 different munitions depots. The munitions depots is Pentagon speak for bombs. The bombs that we're giving to Israel, the bombs that were given to Ukraine, the missiles, those are being made in Jersey and other spots. And their airspace was invaded by UFO, or they would say drones. And like, this is where I still think the secret task force is just, they don't care enough about this issue, because even though it's a nonpartisan issue historically, that kind of changed in the lead up to the last election. But the UAP caucus was able to keep that at bay a little bit. Congressman Garcia kind of tried to throw it in as a wrench. Like, I asked him about the UAPDA, and then he was like, oh, I'm going to introduce it. So he introduced it kind of as a FU to the other party in the lead up to the election.
Right.
Besides that, it's always been this nonpartisan issue. They, like, with Congresswoman Luna, especially as the chair, I'm like, hey, look at Askapol.com. We have, like, I think it was Luna who introduced impeachment articles against former DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Well,
Yes.
ma'am, Senators Cory Booker from New Jersey, Senator Andy Kim from New Jersey, Congressman Frank Pallone from New Jersey, all Dems. Oh, Chris Smith, Republican from New Jersey. All of them, I don't know if Smith was on the call, but they all had a classified call with Mayorkas at the end of last year, around the election, maybe a little after the election, because the East Coast was on fire with drone fever, UFO fever, because their airspace was regularly getting invaded by craft that the U.S. government had no idea what they were, at least according to what they've told us and told these United States senators. So I'm like, hey, Congresswoman Luna, you wanted to impeach Mayorkas. Why not have a hearing with Mayorkas, bring Senator Booker, bring Andy Kim, and be like, hey, Mayorkas told you this under oath, that when he was DHS secretary, he literally told Congress, we have no idea what's invading U.S. airspace. Well, then Trump becomes president. First couple of weeks in office, I think it was even first week, you had White House press secretary come out and say, oh, guys, nothing to see there. FAA knew what was going on all along. If the FAA knew what was going on all along, Mayorkas should be in jail because he lied to U.S. senators. Congresswoman Luna, I just did your far right work for you. Literally, like, do it. Do that hearing. Crucify Mayorkas. Or maybe Mayorkas was telling the truth and the U.S. government has no idea what they are, but it's easier to say, oh, FAA had it, and then just go on to the next thing on Trump's list, which they've effectively done. So yeah, like, again, I would call on members of both parties to keep the partisan BS out. But if you want to bring the partisan BS to this game, I'm going to out-partisan you, because literally
Right.
Mayorkas should be in that chair under those lights, and we might learn something.
Well, let me
That's
ask
why
you,
he's not.
do you think then there is a category of people, elected officials or even intelligence officials, that are trying to bury this subject back under the rug? And it's not maybe because they don't believe in the UFO/UAP phenomena, but it is because it is putting a shining light on American technology that has been created, like Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Boeing Skunk Works, McDonnell Douglas and Raytheon, and all of these companies that are trying to propel the military industrial complex into the next century already.
See, and that's where the public hearing they just had was so almost illuminating, for lack of a better term. But it was like, whoa. It seems like the consensus is, at least from that hearing, that these secrets are held within the military industrial complex. Yeah, it could be Department of Energy, but I'm like, okay, after that hearing, it's like, hey, there's a lot of focus on these. That's where I'm like, Congress, why not? And forget the lawmaker, but there might be a bill, or maybe lawmakers are discussing maybe doing a bill. But I'm like, wait. If the military industrial complex, even though they get hundreds of billions of our taxpayer dollars annually, if they can't be subpoenaed just like Pentagon officials can, then there's a problem in the system. Because the military industrial complex, as homeboy President Eisenhower warned, like, he was a prophet, because now you can't tell where the Pentagon starts and the military or contractors start. Like, they are interwoven together. And so that's where, okay, Congress, like, you're in control. And also, why would Congress ever take testimony from someone who they couldn't punish? Like, I just don't get it. I don't get why today's policymakers allow themselves to be neutered. Again, the Constitution makes you guys king and queen. Like, we don't have a king and queen in America. We lost a lot of blood fighting the redcoats. And now we have a Congress that just like bows down and gives the White House all their power. No. Like, my life goal is to make Congress, which is supposed to be the voice of us, the people,
right?
Especially the House of Representatives, the rowdy House. That's the branch that's closest to us, the people. Like, go pull a Jesus, flip over some tables in the temple, let the birds
Do they
loose.
want this subject gone? Do they want it back under the carpet?
It seems like it, and it seems like they're being effective at it, because the Secrets Task Force is a laughing stock. Like, literally, when you had the David Grush hearing in 2023, it blew my mind, because I just randomly ran into Burchett at right ahead of the hearing, and we walked around. This is the oldest House office building, so it's huge because it was meant to house the entire Congress. Well, since then, Congress grew, the House grew. Now it's 435 members. So back then it was a couple hundred, I believe. Well, so that Rayburn House office building is just expansive and massive, because when it was built, that was supposed to house all of that, the U.S. House of Representatives. So the halls just go on forever. I walked with Burchett as he said hi to everyone on this hall, then down another. Like, I covered the MLB, Major League Baseball, steroid hearings, where you had all these prima donnas, except Go Cubs, we had Sammy Sosa, but all these, him, Mark McGuire, Canseco, they all testified on Capitol Hill. I think on the same floor as where that, I don't think the same room, but same floor as where that hearing was. And that was some of our nation's biggest sports icons, biggest stars. The line outside was nothing. Like, it was just unmemorable compared to the UFO line. And that's where the public folks were juiced. And coming out of that hearing, you had AOC tell us, hey, David Grush seemed credible. I have a lot of questions for him in his skiff. Same with Jamie Raskin, who's now the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. He led one of the impeachment trials against Trump in the first.
Let's go to break. Matt Laslo,
Yeah.
we have him for another hour from Askapol, UFO or UAP.com. Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
You just reminded me I should scoop Askapolufo.com.
We got about 6 minutes here, my friend. I'm
Nice.
going to put you back in the green room. And for everybody tuning in on X, which we have a large contingent right now, and on YouTube, this is a live radio show. We are on commercial break with our radio stations right now. And you guys get to kind of see behind the scenes. If you're new, do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Or if you're listening on X, please give us a follow. We'd greatly appreciate it. We'll be right back. Matt, I'm going to put you in the green room, okay?
Yes, sir.
Be right back, everybody. All right, I am back. Thank you for waiting around. And we are going to fire up probably in about 90 seconds here. On our YouTube side, Mickey G, thank you for coming on in. What else do we have here? I think we're caught up there perfectly. 1 minute to go. Thank you tonight to Pam Harris, Kurt W., Area 54, and Necessary Dialogue for our super chats tonight. I am going to try and squeeze in some questions in the second half of this hour coming up. I know there's some good ones. You guys got some great ones in there, so we'll get ready for Matt. Our store is always open on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and we will bring Matt in. There we go. Matt, how you doing?
Miserable, but that's on me for becoming a congressional reporter 2 decades ago.
We're coming back in 7 seconds. Rich Buddy, nice to have you back. And here we go, everybody.
Rock and roll. Sorry.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Journalist Matt Laslo from AskapolUAPs.com is our website, filling us in on what's going on in Washington, D.C. with the UFO story. And it sounds very bleak. We're going to get more into that here momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tractor. Tractor is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Now, let's get to our guest, Matt Laslo. He is one of the top journalists covering the UFO UAP story in Washington, D.C. His website, Askapoluaps.com. Matt, thank you so much for being here, and we really appreciate your knowledge tonight.
Thanks for having me. This is a blast. My pup is loving it, if you can see him on the couch.
What kind of dog do you have there?
So he's a rescue. He's half black lab, and then I say he's half wolf. He is a rescue from the Flathead Reservation in Montana by way of a Colorado journalist. He's my heart.
Beautiful.
He's my guy.
Love it. Love it. We love our animals around here. I want to ask you this before we get too deep in. How does NASA get off scot-free on this subject?
My frustration with the new NASA chair is he is not Bill Nelson. And again, as I said with Rubio, I covered Congress for South Florida, well, WLRN in Miami, and then also WFSU in Tallahassee. So like, I knew Senator Nelson well. And the crazy thing about NASA Administrator Bill Nelson is he was a senator for so many years. You would just see him walking about the Capitol alone with no security detail. Or he'd be giving a tour of the Capitol to a bunch of astronauts. And it was just, I miss the access I had with Bill Nelson. Now, Duffy, we know each other. I don't think we really respect each other too much. We're both like bros in our own respective lanes. But we know each other enough. I just haven't seen him at the Capitol, so I haven't had access to him to get questions off. And because his plate is so full, because he's also transportation secretary or FAA secretary, something, I'm curious how much attention he's actually giving to NASA, let alone an issue like this that seems to be very low on the pecking order, well, at least publicly, of issues that NASA deals with. And so I'm hoping to see Duffy soon and to ask that question. But as of now, a lot of these, and I also have a lot of questions for, again, DNI and Tulsi Gabbard, who I know from covering Congress, and Rubio. Again, I just haven't had access, but I'm curious, especially knowing their interest in the issues. And to take a step back, now that I've changed the subject a tad, but I'm very curious what the dialogue is behind the scenes. And so I could be wrong on the Secrets Task Force. They could be, because Tulsi Gabbard is an ally of Congresswoman Luna and others on their right. And we've seen Tulsi Gabbard release previously classified information on the JFK files or whatever, just straight to Luna. And it seems she had a hiccup yesterday or whatever, releasing some new Russian files that I guess they got, but it seems like those were coming through ODNI's office. And so there could be amazing disclosure on the horizon that, like, maybe the Secrets Task Force / UAP caucus is now the best poker players in the world. And maybe they're keeping their cards very close to their chest and they're about to drop something. But I have not seen any signs of that.
Right.
Still knowing that Tulsi and Marco, for lack of their last names, it seems like there could be some backdoor channels with this Congress and with Duffy. So that's why, as a reporter, I don't presume anything, but no one's given me any hints of that. It's just been a big hope of many in the community, and I haven't seen anything to disprove that it might be coming.
Right.
Again, the Secrets Task Force didn't even bring up UFOs in their first meeting, which to me speaks volumes.
Where I thought this was a joke, and I think a lot of journalists really dropped the ball on this, was when Bill Nelson stood up at the podium and said, we got to figure out this UAP thing. And he was adamant about, finding out from the Navy, and he talked to Navy pilots about this. And it was really interesting to him. And never once did he bring up NASA's notes, the public videos, audios, and transcripts where these test pilots for NASA, along with astronauts, had made profound claims on recording. It's all public knowledge. Darcy Weir did a great video documentary on this. And I just thought right then and there, they're playing this whole subject for us like fools. They're playing us.
So I get it, that inclination. I, at no point in time, ever saw Senator or Administrator Nelson as speaking for anyone except for Senator and Administrator Bill Nelson. The joke on Capitol Hill was he left a lot of his brain up in space. Like, he just was never fully engaged, as his critics would say. And so with what you said, kind of makes total sense to me, because we, after the last hearing in September 9th or whatever, Eli Crane, who Arizona congressman, I believe he was Navy SEAL, he told us at Askapol, he's like, I didn't believe this, but when I hear veterans, when I hear service members tell these stories, he's like, those are my people. And he's like, I trust them. And so he's like, I don't know what I believe. He's like, I don't know what we saw with that object dodging or surviving a Hellfire missile. He's like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what's out there, but I'm at the table now because of his relationships with service members. And I think that's probably what we saw with Nelson. Yeah, he's never going to read a bunch of files or whatever. But when individual Navy pilots or astronauts tell him what they saw, I could see that having a huge impact with someone like Nelson, and quite frankly, also with Mr. Duffy, who Administrator Duffy is claim to fame before Congress was being a member of the Real World cast. And I think he's very impressionable, at least the last time I knew him, to put it mildly. But again, to take a step back, that's why these whistleblowers are so important. Like, whistleblowers cut through all the BS when it comes to those relationships with these policymakers. And that's where seeing Arrow hurt the relationship between the government, whatever that is, but the federal government and these whistleblowers. Arrow hurt that relationship. Those whistleblowers then sought out senators, and now they're getting the Secrets Task Force and their issues, what they saw and witnessed, what defied their computer, what defied everything that they were trained on. That has just like been lost, and now they're just fighting to be heard and to have a safe space to be heard, which again is why it's just so wild for me hearing lawmakers who care about this issue talking about subpoenaing these folks. It's like, no, they literally are begging you for a safe space where they won't get retribution, where they won't be laughed at or mocked, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's where the entire U.S. government, Congress included, has just failed, just utterly failed.
I think they have failed. And I think that they've done it to the detriment of the people who are having real encounters, real experiences. And I come from that not only on a journalistic level, but on a personal experience level as well. And when I look at the whole subject, whether it's NASA playing us for fools, whether it's Congress, using the words, and to quote Tim Burchett many a time, saying we need transparency this, transparency that, but let's put everything in a skiff where there is no transparency. I mean, at what point does the public, and I see it turning now, but at what point does the public just say, we're running around in circles here? And you as a journalist covering this must be seeing that as well.
Again, and this kind of goes back to your first question to start this wonderful interview. This Congress, I'm fine being laughed at. Like, I'm fine being derided. I'm cool asking the questions no one else is asking. Again, I've done that for a decade plus on cannabis, mass incarceration, all that. I'd be the only one asking those questions. Again, Rubio, Secretary of State, would always be like, are you going to ask me a pop question? And I'd be like, and then whenever he would do that, then I throw him a hardball. But so this Congress, I went up to a senator, I'll say his name, Senator Martin Heinrich, on Senate Intel Committee last Congress. We talked about Grush, and he was like, from what I've seen on Senate Intel, there's no there. He didn't really investigate it, but he's New Mexico, so he was a little conversant on it. I go up to him this year, and he wouldn't even move his lips. Like, I think they kind of learned that Askapol we're always recording because we just put out the entire interview. We literally want to take our listeners inside the Capitol and show them, hey, it's actually worse than you thought. And so y'all get a front row seat to our unrepresentative government. But again, talking to Heinrich last year, he would talk to me. This year, he shook his head and he was just like, no, this isn't my issue. So he didn't even want to be tied to it. Same thing with Senator Mark Warner. I've got a printed out copy of that June Wall Street Journal article. Then, like, everyone in the community, like, take a step back. Wall Street Journal did this huge deep dive that, you could tell Kirkpatrick Romero was like the main source for that. And then again, I trust my colleagues at the Wall Street Journal. They had 24 sources. They dropped that huge piece in June. And the vice chair of the Senate Intel Committee hasn't even bothered to pick it up. What does that tell you? That article ain't no smoking gun. If anything, that's a smoking head fake. And so last week I printed out and gave a copy to Senator Gillibrand. She, one of the few, last I checked, one of just 6 senators, 6 out of 100, who's a member of both the Intelligence Committee and the Armed Services Committee. She hadn't even read the piece, so I handed her a copy of it. Again, with this Congress, I'm like, hey, at least just like read this piece, because that Wall Street Journal piece, whether you love, hate it, that's a huge feature, a lot of energy, a lot of time from the Pentagon and also from the Wall Street Journal, a very moneyed, wealthy publication with, and it was, I think, dual byline. Like, they put a lot of resources into that. And this Congress doesn't even wrestle with that. So, like, wait, if you're not even going to like talk about this or read it, then there's nothing there. You know, it's like whatever Kirkpatrick and them hope to get out of that, senators aren't even reading it. Like, senators who actually care about this issue, at least Gillibrand, she hasn't even read it. And so it's like, how are we supposed to take it seriously? Again, I would love for Luna and them to have a hearing just on that article. Because again, they've got 24 sources at least that they say. Why has Kirkpatrick not been brought in to testify? Like, literally, he's been out there making mincemeat of the UAP caucus. He's been making mincemeat of this issue as much as he can, and he's been super empowered by my lazy, uninquisitive colleagues in the media. He's just been given this pass because he's got these credentials, but there's no there. And so what does the Secret Task Force / UAP caucus do? Throughout this entire Congress, they've let Kirkpatrick grow stronger and stronger in his rumor mill secretive dissent, where he's just knifing them and just undercutting them secretly. Guys, you now have a caucus. Bring the dude in, put him in front of the lights, and do your job as Congress people, especially because he's calling you out, Congressman Luna. Like, if you care about the issue at all, if you care about your reputation at all, bring him in and do away with him, obliterate him and what he's trying to do. Or maybe he's got a point. Maybe he's right. But no, you guys won't even engage in that conversation. And guys, guess what? That conversation has overtaken yours. Because before we went to the break, my notes here, what I was trying to say is, like, this Congress. So yeah, night and day between the 2023 public David Grush hearing and the other ones that we've seen. So after the 2023 Grush hearing, lawmakers, again, from AOC to the Freedom Caucus, Congresswoman Luna Burchett and AOC and Jamie Raskin. And Jamie Raskin, again, led one of the impeachment trials against Trump. All of them, far left, far right, middle of the road, they all came out of that hearing being like, Grush seems credible. We have a lot more questions. Need to get him into a skiff. They were never able to get him into a skiff. But like, you felt this energy coming out of that hearing. Coming out of this September's hearing, when I asked Congresswoman Nancy Mace about the hearing 2 weeks after it, because I was sick as a dog the week of the hearing, I might have even asked her about it the next week. But she literally stops. She goes, wait, Matt. And I haven't even dropped the interview yet. I've been sitting on it. Maybe I'll drop it this weekend or whatever. But she's literally like, wait, Matt, remind me. And she goes through and has to that hearing left no impression on her. And she's a committee member who cares, who cared about this issue. Now, as she's running for governor, she doesn't seem to care about the issue, even though this issue is hyper local. Because when you have objects flying over your house in Jersey or South Carolina, when you're having a balloon get shot down by fighter jets right off your coast after that thing floated over your house, and you're like, wait, what do we spend this $1 trillion on the military for? She's like, wait, what did we learn in that hearing? And so they've kind of become this joke to themselves.
Let me
I don't
ask
think
you,
they realize.
we got 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break. Matt Laslo is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Who chooses the people who are speaking? Because it really seems like they haven't brought in very many heavy hitters regarding this subject. Like you said, why not bring in Kirkpatrick? Why not bring in some of these heavyweights from these committees or whatever that may actually be in the know rather than people who are witnesses?
The smartest thing I've seen Congresswoman / Chairwoman Luna do is defer to Congressman Eric Burleson on this issue. And it kind of seems like, I don't usually like weigh in, but like Burleson's been coming up. Like, again, he hired David Grush. That's, again, if the Armed Services Committee had hired Edward Snowden, like that's a little bit comparable. Like it just is unheard of. And so you've had Burleson working in interesting ways. And I know the community hates it, but a lot of times, especially because these are classified issues, sometimes the best work is going to be done, or like the only work that will be effectual and have meaning on the issue might have to be classified. It might have to be in a skiff, and it might be years for us to learn the outcome of that, just because of the way everything's stacked now. Which again, I'm like, Congress, you can change the laws. Like you guys, again, in 2023, the start of the year, there was a big debate, bipartisan debate with Senator Warner and Senator John Cornyn of Texas about overhauling the nation's classification. Because as Cornyn told me, there's literally warehouses outside of DC, warehouses that are just filled with classified documents because our federal government has to live up to a congressional statute that says you can't, I forget, again, I'm exhausted, I can't think of the name of it, but there's that Records Act. So you can't get rid of these records until they're digitized. So literally we have warehouses of classified information that both parties think should not be classified. We just have a lazy, derelict Congress that's enabled by lazy, uninquisitive corporate media. Like, shame on us all. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there, ripping on me and Congress.
I understand that one all too well. We've got about 30 seconds to go here. And, I do want to try and squeeze in some audience questions in the next half hour. Yeah, but there is just so much to talk with you about regarding this subject. Like, what is really happening in these skiffs? That is a big one that I think I'm going to ask you in the next half hour to kick things off, just to keep it interesting as well. Matt Laslo from AskapolUAPs.com. You want to check him on out. He's one of the best investigative journalists on this subject. We'll be right back with more Spaced Out Radio. Oh, pardon me. We got 20 seconds left. I read my clock wrong. Oh, that happens sometimes. But yeah.
Hey, my only goal in life is to always make enough money to outsource my math to someone.
Well, in radio, we try and time things out, and I'm still getting used to my new system here. So I'll take blame for it. Now we're going to break.
Nice.
listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right. There we go. Merle is here, everybody. Don't forget to Merle it up. Merle it up for him. He's pumped. He's jacked. Yeah, man. Good times. Merle. It's a rarity. We have more people listening on X right now than we do YouTube. That's a rarity. Thank you, everybody on X. Do us a favor if you haven't already. Please give us a follow. We love adding new people to our programming as we are here each and every night because, like, I have no other life here. Oh, look at this. Merle's girl. Look at that. Where's Merle? Merle's girl. I love it. Way to go, Cat. Actually, you know what? It's not Cat. It's the Cat. The Cat. The cat eye. The cat eye. Love it. Love it. Look at the people coming in and merling it up in the chat room. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Merle, I'm just going to put my hat on for you here for a second so I could give you the tip of the cap. It's for you, Merle. Thank you, Merle. Good times. Good times. Honestly, Merle, you and the cat eye showing up here makes me happy. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. We have about 2.5 minutes, everybody. We're just timing everything out for our radio stations. If I could remember for next month when Merle is on, I'm going to, you know how I change his name every half an hour? I might choose audience members for that one. Change audience members' names and put a Merle in there. I think that would be funny. Geez, Matt is great on the air. Holy cow, is he great. You know what I like about Matt is you could tell he really loves his job. He really loves digging into stories. That's what a good journalist should do. He's not putting himself in the story. He's not making the story about him. He's telling the facts of what he's finding out. I think it's brilliant. It's very old school in a great way. We have about a minute to go here. Thank you tonight to Pam Harris, Kurt W., Necessary Dialogue, and Area 54 for the super chats. Thank you, Sensational Shelley, for joining our YouTube membership. Our store is always open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. And if it's your first time listening in on Spaced Out Radio, do us a favor, hit follow on X or come to our YouTube side where the chat is going, and you can join in there, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We'd greatly appreciate it. That would really help us out. Let's get back to Matt Laslo here as we're coming back here in about 15 seconds. And Matt, if you want to stay for the next hour, you're more than welcome to if you're still awake, or we'll have to reschedule you because I know we're not going to get through everything tonight, but we're going to leave that up to you. And here we go. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Matt Laslo from Askapol UAP.com for the next half hour. And we're going to continue right after this. A reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Matt Laslo, UAP journalist. He is an investigative journalist with Askapol. You can find him anywhere online. The guy is great. Great interview. Matt, thank you so much for being awesome tonight.
Thanks for putting up with me.
Or let me rephrase that. Do you have any inside information that you can share? Because I know as being a journalist, there are things you can't share about what is really going on in these skiff conversations. Because going back to what is happening, when we hear the hearings, they're always saying we can talk about it in a skiff. I can mention that in a skiff. Okay. And yet nothing ever comes out of those. Have you been able to have any personal conversations with people about that?
I think Tim Burchett kind of summed it up best when he was basically saying skiffs can be a head fake. Because he's like, so let me take a step back. What is it? Secure, compartmented information. What's skiff? Facility. Anyway, that's where lawmakers get classified info. And U.S. senators, they're not allowed to have Apple Watches, phones. They have to leave any electronics outside of a skiff, which I'm always like, wait, so is my phone being hacked? Because I'm never allowed in the skiff. But it's just extra secure. And what Burchett says is, sometimes they go into the skiff and he's like, they're telling me what the New York Times printed that morning. And then I leave. And because I signed my life away, because they literally, federal lawmakers, have to say that, hey, I submit to going to jail if I discuss what's talked about in this classified setting. So Burchett's like, wait. I can talk about that New York Times article before I go into the skiff. But if the classified briefing is on that material, once I learn about the underpinnings of that article, when I leave the skiff, I can no longer talk about that New York Times piece. And I'm like, that's the federal government at work. They're frustrating, but they're not stupid. Many of them might be dumb, but they're not stupid. And so that has been kind of the interesting thing with the UAP caucus, which evolved into the Secrets Task Force, is you've seen them kind of learn as they go. And I just saw someone put in the comments a question about the FBI UFO task force. Part of me is very critical of lawmakers, UAP caucus included. And part of me is like, wait, it took you all 2 years to find out that less than 1.2 miles down the road from you, in between the Capitol and the White House, is the FBI. It took y'all 2 years to find out that they have this UFO unit within the FBI. That literally, look at our Burchett and Luna interviews, when they left that classified briefing, because their eyes were just opened. You have Luna wanting to replace Arrow with the FBI unit. When I brought that up to Senator Rounds, he was like, oh, the kids, they just learned about that? Like, again, this is where the Senate seems to have a lot more power, control, and seems to roll its eyes a lot at what these kids in the House are doing. Again, that's where Burleson is kind of upending that game. But specifically when it comes to what I was just talking about and what the question was raised on the FBI unit, I think something that the Secrets Task Force, especially Luna, they haven't wrestled with is, like, we get that they hate Arrow, but if you go back to why Arrow was created, and it seems like they failed at their most basic duty, but they were created to be outwardly facing. They were created to assuage some of these fears in the public and to, give information to the public. That is not the FBI's mandate in the least. And actually, after we broke the news of the UAP caucus, Secrets Task Force learning about this FBI UFO unit, I got my first ever call from a federal lawmaker, member of the House, on a Friday night saying, as the story's blowing up, going viral, Congressman calls me up and goes, hey, just so you know, FBI just called me and they don't really like all this attention. I'm like, giggle. Like, I don't care. You got to put up with the FBI. Like, maybe one day I will. But like, no. Like, you literally, that congressman who called me, you hit on the problem.
Right.
Because if you're entrusting the FBI now with this, the mandate's changed. If you guys just want the information, and it seems like these members really do trust them, and these members of the Secret Task Force said that, hey, the FBI even had videos and information that Arrow didn't have. So that's very telling that Arrow is crippled just from its inception, whether it's Pentagon officials top down, crippling what they can and can't see, to other agencies even having information that Arrow doesn't have, which, Kirkpatrick, what'd you do? You failed your first year. Oh, you just studied Pentagon stuff? Like, I bet Kirkpatrick never reached out to the FBI, or he at least never told us, the public, about it. I doubt he ever even thought of asking Department of Energy. And so, like, again, Arrow is crippled, very much so, if not immobilized forever. We'll see. Jury's still out. But that's where kind of seeing these members, their eyes slowly open. Great, you're getting more information. Again, what do you want? Do you guys want the information? Or do we go back to Arrow's initial mandate, which is to inform the public? That's something they got to deal with, but they've not even thought about it, as far as I can tell.
One more question for me before I get to some audience questions. Your thoughts on billionaire Peter Thiel, owner of Palantir, getting into the UFO world? We know that he is the silent partner, allegedly, of Enigma Labs. We know that he has been asked numerous times to get into this subject. Jesse Michaels has come out and said it. Do you think that Peter Thiel is playing in the UFO world, dabbling in it, much like Robert Bigelow did?
This is, pardon me, this shows my limitations. This is kind of my first time hearing, again, I hear Palantir, but not so much Peter Thiel. That's interesting because he's been on my radar in part because he helped fund now Vice President J.D. Vance's Senate run. At a certain point in that campaign, it seemed like a strategic, not parting of ways, but a strategic, like, hey, I'm gonna go do my thing, you go do your thing. and I'm actually going to get elected with your money. We're just not going to talk about it. And so that's where I'm curious about a lot of things around Teal. And like, I'm a Wired magazine contributor, also new media professor. I'm very curious about Silicon Valley, just generally, and how much power and clout they have predating the Trump administration, or this iteration of the Trump administration. But there's a lot of knowledge and power and just huge seismic decisions being made about internet connectivity in space, all these other things that I wish we had more lawmakers asking these questions like they were in 2023. This is a little separate, but like AOC and kind of Nancy Mace as well. The reason they're into the issue is because of the military industrial complex, and because of their, distrust of all these contractors. And so I've been let down by, for one, the lack of curiosity just across Washington. But even when it comes to lawmakers who are cued in on these issues, I guess there's only so much. I don't know. If I were them, I'd be asking a lot more questions. And I've read the Constitution. I'd be demanding a lot more answers. Yeah.
All right, let's get some some audience questions here. Let's go and kick things off with T-Bone. Matt, Representative Tim Burchett said, if they're out there, they could turn us into charcoal briquettes. Why do you think he said that?
Hey, brilliant question. I do not, and would I never try to step inside the mind of Congressman Tim Burchett. He is a beautiful entity in and of himself. Yeah, I'm gonna write this down. Look for it on Askapol. I'm gonna ask Congressman Burchett why he said turn us into charcoal briquettes. Hold me to that.
We could do that. We could definitely do that. Let's go to Human Carl here. How does a congressional committee subpoena someone when most of what they have to say requires a skiff and security levels that Congress members don't have?
Yes and no. This is a little bit of a conflation of two issues. And again, and I'm with you on this confusion. I don't get, like, some committees just boom, you're under oath if you're testifying in front of it, and you have to like swear and do all that stuff. Others don't make you do that. And I'm like, wait, for one, like, is there a legal difference between those two? Because lying to Congress is lying to Congress. A subpoena on top of that, like, that's compelling someone and like forcing them. And again, like, I'm kind of thinking through this out loud because I don't, if anyone out there knows the answers to this, I've had questions on this, and I'm a constitutional junkie. I'm just very curious why Congress would ever even allow a part of the American economy or whatever to be outside of its own subpoena power. Like, I just don't even know how that happened or how that could happen. If I'm a federal lawmaker, and I'm not for many good reasons, mainly because I don't think I got the support, because I would literally demand all the secrets on day one and hack my head off. But I'm like, I just, my mind cannot wrap around how members of Congress, who, again, my theory constitutionally is that the Constitution puts Congress above the White House. And so I'm like, Congress, you are our queen, our king. Like, you have the power. how did it ever happen over the years that you would take testimony? Well, for one, that you could like leave sectors of the American workforce, whatever, outside of your purview for subpoenas. Like I just don't get it. But somehow we had a difference with the January 6th committee. There was a difference with like some people were sent subpoenas, other people were strategically not sent subpoenas. And like, I think to me, that just comes down to just this historical decades long snowball effect of failure. And it's bipartisan. Both chambers of Congress, both parties have just slowly allowed their powers to erode. I mean, literally, if someone was testifying in front of me and they weren't under oath, or they maybe thought they weren't under oath, what are we doing? Like, that's performance art. Like, it just makes no sense to me. And so, like, having someone or some group, like having military contractors not be able to be subpoenaed by the Congress that funds them after taxpayer dollars is filtered through the Pentagon, like, that makes no sense to me. And there's bipartisan agreement that that's BS. And so I'm like, Congress, you can't fund the government. Come together and do that. Like 90% of you all should at least agree to that on paper. And if you don't, please tell that to your voters so that they can vote you out.
All right, let's go to another question here. Let's go to Derek here, who is asking, is disclosure now more likely to come from the United States or another country like Russia or China, or maybe a smaller country?
I've not quite given up on this beautiful American experiment yet. I do get comfort from this quote I use in my main history of the media lecture, where George Washington, and I think they'll lead up to the election of 1800, but he's like, are the reins of power to last much longer? So like even George Washington was like predicting our the downfall of this experiment. So like I vacillate between this, like, and again, this is where the curiosity of Congress really matters, because I can see a world where a lot of these objects that we don't know could be Tony Stark's and Iron Man. Like, our military industrial complex has about $1 trillion a year to play around with. Well, pardon me, they probably have just $500 billion a year to play around with. I imagine they have a lot of toys. And so I think we as America, just the amount of money we drain into the military industrial complex, for lack of a better term, I could see us having a lot more answers than other nations. But I'm with you all. Like, I'm not holding my breath for this federal government to like willingly. But again, let's take a step back. You all, like, Congress does listen to you all. They feel your pressure. And again, that's where, like, you don't gotta curse at them, maybe a little bit, but like, they hear when you all rattle their cages. And again, I think the only reason Arrow was built was to deflect from this community and your guys' questions and pressure. Now it's Congress, so they flopped and they gave you all a poo sandwich, for lack of a better term, as opposed to like what you actually wanted. But they gave you something, you know, and so that's where they listen, keep on them. Yeah, we'll see.
Let me follow up with that question.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you point blank. Is disclosure a dead topic?
No, never. because these people here, if anything, I have this, again, I'm a new media professor. I'm pretty upset right now with Reddit because I don't know what they're thinking. When I did my AMA, Ask Me Anything on Reddit, there was like 3.2 million strong in the UFO Reddit. Then over time, just over like 2 years, it climbed up to 3.8 million. Congress sees that. And I would argue the only reason Senator Gillibrand is at the table on this issue is because she wants to be Madam President. She already ran for president and lost to Mr. Biden, which is a conversation for another day. But she obviously has aspirations. It seems to me, as a political communications professor, that someone in her office, possibly even her, looked at that Reddit group and said, wow, that's 3.2 million votes that no one else is going after those. We can get some of that. And I think she flopped. I think she totally squandered that. But so now under Reddit's new thing, it shows on UFO Reddit, 500,000 views this week. You freaking morons. For like, I had so much power as a reporter because there was 3+ million, 500,000, like Thanksgiving week. What's UFO Reddit going to be? 200,000? Like, you literally took away the most powerful metric that we have, at least in the press corps, to have clout, to demand answer. Like lawmakers, again, as cynical as we all are, and I call it studied cynicism. We're not idiots. Like, these people have failed us. They've lied to us, even like about stupid things. For 70 years, they've just bungled this. Like what? I called out Senate Intelligence Committee Vice Chair Mark Warner. Him and I were on a Senate subway together. His chief of staff or whatever was on with us. And he's like, hey, just between us. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, he's kind of like, hey, you come at me hot with all these like UFO questions. And I was like, sir, Askapol UAP has confronted, eradicated. Like, we've done away with more rumors in the past 2 years than the US government has in the past 70 years. And Warner looks up at his chief of staff and he goes, is that right? And she goes, yeah. Because Congress has forsaken this community, laughed you all off, done psyops, if the Air Force thing is true, cool. The American government was actively lying to all of us for 70 years. Like, that's almost worse for them if they were just like covering up aliens or whatever. Like, oh, cool. So you guys were great, just actively lying to our faces. Why the heck should we believe you now? So this is where the government is having to learn from its own mistakes in real time because of the pressure from this community. But you guys are on the map. Like, hey, I'm a professor at Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, top 3 J schools in the US, Boston University, GW, like a Trump press secretary I trained in one of my courses. So I'm as mainstream as it gets in the press corps. I'm at the table because of you all. And Congress, they're hearing, they're listening to you all. So like, as much as there's a lot of reason to be not pessimistic, as much as the reason to be down and to feel disheartened, ultimately take a step back, guys.
We got to wrap it up, my friend.
But after 15 years of silence, you guys have had so many public hearings in the past 2-3 years. Keep up.
Matt Laslo, everybody. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio with the Wizard coming up next. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Is it my bedtime?
You can head off to bed, my friend. Thank
We
you
got to
very
do this
much.
again.
Let's do it.
That was great.
Too many questions, not enough time. We ran out of it. I'll give you a text message to see when you want to do this again.
Hey, anytime. And actually, what I do with a handful of spots, because what we know Congress, like,
Yeah.
they're going to take off Thanksgiving or they'll be gone for Christmas and then gone August. So whenever there's like a holiday or congressional recess coming up, that's when I try to stack up a handful of these.
I'll keep you in mind for that. We'll talk soon and I will make it happen. Okay.
And hey, I was going to say, but we were short on time. You have a great voice. Just good.
Thank you.
Deep voice. Yeah. I enjoyed
Have
it.
a good one, Matt.
Cheers, brother.
Matt Laslo, everybody. How awesome was that? Hour 3 coming up next. Josh Rutledge. I'll be right back. right. Thank you for that. We got the UFO wizard coming up here momentarily. Let's bring him on in. Wizard, how you doing? Get you to unmute.
Yep. There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh. All right. Jessica S. Good to have you here. And who else is here? Joining on in. Jeremy Jones, nice to see you. I think we're caught up. Thank you tonight to Matthew Goodka, Area 54, Kurt W., Pam Harris, and Necessary Dialogue for our super chats. Thank you to Sensational Shelley for becoming our latest YouTube member. We appreciate that. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. It is always open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. And Michael Gutierrez, how you doing? Here we go, everybody. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tractor. Tractor is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. This happened when my son was 4 years old. My son had never had any interest in aliens before this. He had laughed at the idea whenever I watched TV programs on aliens. One day, I'm watching a documentary on them, and my son comes out and looks at the screen. He starts to laugh. Okay, typical behavior for him. Then he suddenly says, "Mommy, they're wrong. The grays are tall and a bit blue. Some of the tiny ones are green, though." I asked him where he learned that, as he had never been interested in them. He told me that the man who comes to his window at night told him. This kind of freaked me out, and this definitely freaked his mother out. A strange man coming to my son's window was something to worry about. My son had a loft bed where he slept, and he was at eye level with the only window in his room. I went outside and started looking for any sign that anyone had been there. That's when I realized just how high my son's window really was off the ground. It was easily around 7 foot, so this person would have had to have been 7 feet tall or bigger to look in that window. I don't see any sign of a ladder or anything else being used. I asked my son for more details, and he said this person was named Philip and that he was an alien. He said Philip wasn't his real name and he couldn't pronounce it, so he called him Philip. My son explained that Philip was here studying the flora and fauna of the earth. His word choice caught me off guard. I mean, these are complicated words for a 4-year-old. He'd never used them before, to my knowledge. He told me after he saw, I wouldn't accuse him of lying. He explained that Philip was a royal family member of whose brother had recently passed. That meant Philip was next in line for the throne. He had never planned for this, and it meant that he had to give up his passion for science. Philip's family decided that he was allowed to finish his research in plants and animals before he was required to take the throne. This was a rather complicated story for a small child of his age to make up. He added very little to the story, but said that Philip came to him all summer and told him amazing things about space. He even claims his friend showed him how to solve a Rubik's Cube. My son explained that Philip never really spoke, but he would hear his voice in his head. I figured there was no harm in his tales, even if he was making them up entirely. They were harmless, but I did check every morning to ensure that an actual human person wasn't creeping into my son's room. I never did see any sign of it. One night at the end of summer, I was woken up by these loud beeping sounds. I woke up my husband thinking there was something wrong with the central air. He gets up and walks into the living room, and he suddenly starts calling me and freaking out. I jumped out of bed, raced down the hallway, and realized what's got him so freaked out. He's standing at the front door, looking into the field across our house. I looked out after him, and all I could see were lights. It's brighter than daylight outside. Suddenly, the lights are all just gone in a flash of a second. My husband claims he saw the actual ship. I missed that part entirely. After that, my son didn't mention Philip ever again. He's now 17. I mentioned it to him in passing the other day, and at first he didn't really seem to remember. I didn't give him Philip's name, just the details. And suddenly he goes, "Oh yeah, Philip." He looked suddenly uncomfortable and refused to talk about it ever again with me.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, ring that bell, hit subscribe. You get thousands of stories for free. Time for the UFO report. Here's the wizard.
Space Out Radio presents a UFO report. The UFO wizard makes his presence known. Just running, just ready to go.
Josh Rutledge is here for the UFO report. We call him the wizard around these parts. Man, it was good to finally have a good conversation with Matt Laslo from Askapol, man. I don't know how much you caught of that, but it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of it. Definitely seems like he knows his stuff. So I will have to go back and watch the full show at a later point. But yeah, it was for what I heard, last probably 15 minutes or so, it was amazing.
One of the things that caught me in the attention grabbers is the fact that he said he doesn't believe disclosure is dead, but he believes that right now Congress just really doesn't have a real interest in it right now. The Senate doesn't have an interest. Nobody seems to really care about it. And there's a lot of eye rolling going on every time this is brought up. Considering we are in the UFO community and we are very small but passionate bunch about this subject, does it kind of, dampen the flame a little bit when you know that this subject just may be for show rather than actual interest?
I mean, it doesn't dampen the flame for me. I feel like I feel like I'm going to sound like a broken record if anybody is paying attention to my position on this, but I was not looking to the government to solidify for me that the phenomena is real. And I also think that they just continue. 6 months will go by, and we'll have another hearing, and we'll have a few more folks on the panel, maybe some repeats, maybe some new folks, but it's just to keep it fresh, so that they can continue to have the hearings. It's not. I just don't think we're ever going to really get to the point where there's going to be meaningful disclosure from the U.S. government. I do not think we're ever going to get to, come on out to the LA UFO show, and we're going to all go out there, and there's going to, they're going to invite all the content creators to come out and tour the hangar with all the craft in it, and the bodies, hermetically sealed and all this. Like, that is never going to happen unless something forces the U.S. government's hand. But even then, it would have to be something where the U.S. government can benefit from that disclosure. They hold all the cards, and nothing is making them show us any of the cards. The only way that it's going to matter is if another country in the world does do something like that, and they share what they have openly. Come to our facilities, get a T-shirt, whatever. But if that happens, I think the U.S. government might pique some interest to roll something out. More than likely, though, they're just going to troll whatever the other country is and say that's all fake. If an ET species or whatever comes along and they try to force their hands, maybe that might be enough. But I honestly, this is, Matt was talking about the little bit that I heard talking about cynicism. In this case, I am very cynical that the government will ever do anything that is not in the interest of the government. And there's no value add in making this topic public. Because like I think Matt said towards the end, the bigger issue is not that they have craft. The bigger issue is that they've been lying to the US people for 80 years. So if that comes out, right, what can of worms does that then open? Right? We got JFK assassination, or I don't know, the time portal that's supposedly in the Vatican vault. What does the U.S. government know about that? Like, it just, all the conspiracy theories that have ever existed, and a whole bunch that will probably spin up, because they will have admitted that they've been lying for 80 years. It gives credence to every single conspiracy theory, no matter how far down the rabbit hole they are. So again, there's absolutely no benefit for the U.S. government to acknowledge that UFOs are real beyond the statement that was given by the Pentagon in 2018. You'll continue to see that every whistleblower or contactee or witness that continues to come forward from the government will be met with criticism, disavow type comments from the U.S. government. They're going to continue to separate themselves from these people because, again, there's nothing for the U.S. government to gain from disclosure.
Worst case scenario, here's what I see happening. I'm curious your opinion. Could you imagine if you opened up that UFO Pandora's box, being completely hypothetical here for a moment, Josh?
Okay.
And let's say that there are people in the U.S. government or one of the agencies who knows of the people who are being taken or being affected personally by this. I mean, that can of worms alone is going to open up major lawsuits.
Oh yeah.
Never mind JFK or MLK or any other of the major conspiracies that are tied to the United States government, whether it's 9/11 or whatever it may be. Okay, let's just focus on this because that UFO Pandora's box is literally going to cause financial bloodshed for many people in Washington, D.C. Those who are covering up now, the reputations of those who covered it up in the past but may no longer be with us anymore because they passed away. There is a lot that could fall into the wrong hands regarding this subject.
Yeah, I think that there's a quote out there, and I'm going to try my best not to butcher it, but it's better to be quiet and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. And that, I think it's oftentimes accredited to Abraham Lincoln. I don't think he said it, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think. I think that the bigger issue is that perhaps our government doesn't know anything. And so, that's the opposite side of what we think disclosure is, right? Maybe our government doesn't really know governments of the world. Maybe they don't really know anything. Maybe they've recovered some material. Maybe they've recovered some bodies, but they've had 80 years and they've answered 0 questions. And so Imagine if you are a citizen in a nation that is, of the top 10%, let's say, Canada, New Zealand, whatever, most of the UK, most of Europe. If you're a citizen in any nation in those areas, the US, and it was to be found out that your government has known about UFOs for 80 years, and they can do nothing to prevent them from, to your point, Dave, taking people, in some cases significantly impacting, their lives, whether or not, just be contactees or not. But imagine that if the government were to come clean and say, actually, we know nothing. Number one, most of us probably wouldn't believe that. But let's say that, 30 people do a polygraph, everybody comes back, they know nothing. What does that mean? Right? You think about the way we hold our intelligence as humans, right? We there's not a problem we can't solve. Do I think we'll figure out anti-gravity? Sure. If it can be figured out, eventually humans will figure it out because we're just really good at solving problems. But imagine you've had 80 years to research UFOs and craft and bodies, and you know nothing other than they're not human. It's a non-human intelligence. What would that say to your people of your country? Would they lose faith in the government? And what little faith they probably still have. The time for in my opinion, the time for the governments of the world, mainly the US though, to come clean on this stuff was probably like my parents' generation, which they were born in the 50s and something, 50s and 60s. Because that's back when the American people still held, confidence for the most part in the government. That would have been the time to come clean. In today's era, there's, again, nothing to be gained. And if it is the fact that they know nothing, then coming forward and providing evidence that they know very little doesn't help them in any way.
It is an interesting subject because, as Matt said, there are a lot of games being played. Arrow is a mess. NASA has never been called out to the carpet on what they know. I mean, there's so many loose ends on this subject. You have to wonder whether or not there's not only time, but enough voices to actually put the pressure on these groups to bring this subject to light. And of course, they all hide behind the skiff. They all hide behind the clearances. And the public is sitting here, like you and I, sitting here saying, well, what are we doing here? Like, what is going on?
Well, and I think that, I think that all aspects of the phenomena are waiting for, we've talked about this a little bit before in the past too, but, I really think that the phenomena is waiting for people to come to them. They're standing on the sidelines, or whatever the sports analogy is for hockey. And they're waiting for, people to walk up and ask and say, hey, can you come in? Can you interact with us? Can you teach us a better way? So whatever the case may be. But yet we as humans, for the most part, when you look throughout our history, we are vastly made up of followers. 10%, 20% might be leaders, but the vast majority are followers. If forced into a situation, they might step into a leadership role, but for the vast amount of the population, it is easier for them to listen to what somebody else has to say and then either just ascribe to that belief or reject it and listen to whatever the next person has to say. So, the vast majority of the population is now waiting for the U.S. government to tell them what they should think about UFOs.
Do you think we're covering this on a journalistic level the proper way?
I don't think it's being covered properly, but at the end of the day, journalism has become, in my opinion, corrupted to sell ads and advertising. You know, and so a lot of journalism doesn't cover the hard-hitting stories like they should. And so, and plus, the UFO topic as a topic has been around for a long time. And I could see, like, I think Laslo, the part that I joined in, he was talking about complaining about the membership on Reddit is in the 4 millions on the subreddit for UFOs, but the views is in the hundreds of thousands or less. And I think it's because people are they're tired and feeling like they're being strung along. And so for media or journalism to cover the topic with no new information to provide, it's just going to feel like a regurgitation of the same information just to keep people on the hook, engaged, to buy a subscription, to buy a newspaper, if there even actually are paper newspapers anymore. But it's not going to feel like genuine journalism. So I think what's missing, if I can, I think what's missing is that most of the big names in ufology are all saying the same thing. They're just saying it in a slightly different way. There are no new theories. There is no new independent research pushing the boundaries of what we know about UFOs. It's being left to the government to define that for us. And all of the big names in the community are just regurgitating the same information over and over and over again.
And I also look at it too as, and this is coming from a journalistic point of view, that I don't think a lot of these journalists, so to speak, know how to cover this subject. You have to understand the subject in order to cover it properly. It's easy to go into a press conference and say, tell me about these UAPs. But one thing that a lot of people don't understand about journalism and journalists is if they're unfamiliar or do not care for the beat that they've been given or the topic they've been given to cover for that day, question the answers. They're not doing their homework. They don't understand the history. They don't understand the passion of the people who have been covering this. And I think that's why these government hearings, NASA, whoever it may be, get the soft pass on this because they're just answering softball questions. They're not going hard on Arrow. They're not going hard on NASA. They're letting these people off the hook. Whereas the journalists who do know the subject, they are pressing about it. They are pushing the envelope regarding how do we get more? Give us more. The public wants this story. The ratings and the readership show that the public wants more stories like this. But if we don't have people asking the proper questions, those who are in touch with these politicians or agencies, we're never going to get it because they don't know how to cover it. And on that note, I'm going to get your opinion on that when we return. The UFO wizard himself, Josh Rutledge, continues with the UFO report when we return.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
All right, I'm gonna write down what I was gonna respond with.
What's that, buddy?
I said I'm gonna write down what I was gonna respond with.
Yeah, let's not forget. We have almost 300 people watching on X right now. So I want to say a big thank you to all of you for listening in. Do us a favor if you haven't already, hit that follow. And if you could, we'd appreciate if you went over to YouTube actually, it's 305 listening on X right now. Thank you very much. If you could, what we would appreciate is if you go over to our YouTube channel as well, hit subscribe, ring that bell, because we are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. And I hope you're really enjoying tonight's conversation, first with Matt Laslo and now with the wizard, Josh Rutledge. So thank you very, very much. And appreciate you taking the time.
Where all are you broadcasting to, Dave?
We are broadcasting on our radio stations, on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, and Twitch.
Cool. Have you heard of Kick?
I've heard of it. Thought about getting on there. There's a few other places we have to check out. You know, the problem that I have is I'm not very technically savvy. So if the places aren't pre-programmed into StreamYard, I don't really know how to make one of those RTMP, you know, like if I say, for instance, I wanted to go on Rumble, right? They don't have a direct link into StreamYard. So I'd have to create an RTMP thing. And I don't really get how that works, you know? So I need somebody who is way more technical than me to help bring me through that, you know. But I know there's Kick, there's Tumblr, and many others that we probably should be broadcasting on, and maybe we should. I don't know.
Well, I'm a pretty technical guy, Dave. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to shoot me a
message. I know you're a technical guy who wears who uses some. You're one of the only guys I know who still uses hair mousse.
Yep. I like what was it? Sassoon. Sassoon's my favorite.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Pat Leal, how you doing, buddy? Glad you made it.
Got my shirt on tonight.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Go to my store on my website and pick one up too.
Flat Six and George Senda. How you doing, George? Hope you're doing well. George Senda, nice guy. Very nice guy. We got about a minute 20, my friend.
Okay.
All right, 1 minute. I'm craving a burger in the worst way right now.
Really?
I love a good burger.
I
love Taco Bell. I love a good burger.
I'm gonna have White Castle on Saturday.
Never had it.
Never had White Castle. Oh, they may not be.
We don't get White Castle up here.
Yeah.
Contrary One, how you doing? Big thank you tonight to our super chatters, Matthew, Area 54, Necessary Dialogue, Pam Harris and Kurt W., thank you very much for your love. Thank you to Shelly for joining our YouTube membership, and for all of you who have shopped at our Spaced Out Radio store and our new subscribers. Greatly appreciate it. Here we go with the next and final half hour. 347 listening right now on X. It's amazing. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We've been talking UFOs all night long, so we appreciate you tuning us on in for the UFO wizard, Josh Rutledge, coming up here momentarily. But first, if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives. They're always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. He is the UFO wizard, Josh Rutledge, here hanging on out with us. We were talking about journalism, the way this story is covered in the mainstream media. Josh, you wanted to follow up with what I was saying, that journalists really don't know how to cover this story.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you look at every journalist who has given it a legitimate shake, they've all are now fully vested in the topic. Like, look at Leslie Keene, Ralph Blumenthal, George Knapp. They were all, just kind of doing, covered something just to cover it. And then now they're fully vested and are, doing as much as they can to try to push the topic. So I do think that, the more we get, I was going to say legitimate journalists, but heck, any journalist that actually wants to give it a fair shake, I think, they're going to walk away feeling differently than when they got started.
I think you are right on that, because once somebody invests themselves in this story and figures out how to cover it, love him or hate him. If you look at Ross Coulthard, this is a guy who really didn't cover this story at all, started looking into it because he saw the 2017 article in the New York Times, gained interest in it, started asking some questions like any journalist should. And the next thing you know, he's pretty much redefined his entire career on this subject. Now, a lot of people who are anti-Ross will say, oh, well, that's grifting. There are those who will sit there and say, well, the guy is doing his job as a journalist. And I like Ross personally. I'm a fan of his work. But on the flip side, he had to learn how to cover the story, because there is more to it than just a bunch of weirdos with no dental plan yelling outside that the reptilians are coming into my bedroom each and every night.
Yeah, and I think that we're also seeing a little bit of he's still learning in what he's going to let's say believe in or ascribe to versus what he's just going to report on. Because he's taken some, in my opinion, he's taken some stances, especially of late, within like the last 6 months to a year, that I'm not sure someone more educated or knowledgeable on the topic would take. So it's nice that we also get to see him kind of learn and grow as he, kind of walks this kind of path, if you will, on his own kind of UFO awakening journey. The downside is that because he has a voice and because he's established himself with that voice, sometimes those stumbles along his path can have huge impacts to his credibility, as well as just, I think him continuing to be a voice within the discussion. But I'm very pleased that, he is one of the few individuals who has his own online presence, right, with his podcast and such, but equally within kind of a major news network with News Nation. And there for a long time, News Nation was the only quote unquote news media organization that was covering this topic when it kind of got the reboot a couple of years ago or a few years ago. So yeah, I don't really necessarily have any problem with Ross, because I see that he is, he's televising his path as he learns more, in his I don't know, his position on all these things evolves and grows. It's kind of the same thing when I got started doing a podcast. I had my memory recall and immediately started doing a podcast. And if you go back and listen to the very first episodes and all the way through, 100 and actually we just recently topped 200. You would actually see a growth in my way of thinking about different aspects of the phenomena. So it's nice that we get to kind of go along with him on that. But yeah, as far as the comment around grifting, I just find it really annoying that let's say it's woodworking. If somebody went to a craft fair and bought a piece of wood wall art, and then the next weekend they went into the garage and they recreated it, and then they started doing a YouTube channel about woodworking, the woodworking community wouldn't accuse them of grifting if they reformatted their entire life around woodworking because they found this passion that they're really involved with. So why is it that in the UFO community, if the same thing happens, now all of a sudden you're a grifter?
I love it when people on YouTube channels have their channel monetized and they're asking for super chats, and yet they're complaining about other people grifting for support.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy is large.
Yeah.
It is large, but it is an interesting topic. What do you got for us tonight?
Yeah, so it is, as we know, still kind of light for UFO-y stuff. We did get an official release date for Age of Disclosure. We talked about the actual documentary earlier in the week. But for those that are maybe just tuning in or whatever, if you haven't heard, so Age of Disclosure is a documentary. People are saying that it may actually be nominated for an Oscar next year. That'll be interesting. But it's like 34 plus government officials and others that are going on the record to talk about UFOs and their knowledge of UFO and UFO related experiences. And so the film will release in select theaters in New York and LA. So if you're in one of those two cities, see if you can find where it's at and check it out. And then also concurrent release on Amazon Prime on November 21st.
Are you going to watch it?
I am. I've watched every single one of them that have come out. I mean, I've watched all of Greer's, because even though I'm not a big fan of Greer in his later stuff, he brings some really interesting topics. And so, I watch all of them. I watch as many as I can. I've got a Gaia subscription. I watch all kinds of stuff on there. I try to immerse myself in a number of different points of view, on a number of different topics, because it's all number one, it's all really interesting, and number two, because I'm of the opinion that it's all somehow related, ghosts, cryptids,
Yes.
UFOs, etc. I want to make sure I'm very well informed on kind of what are the leading opinions or theories in all those different areas. So yes, I will definitely watch it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the episode that, or Spaced Out Radio episode that follows, whenever that releases, I'll probably have some interesting information and insights. So
I look forward to watching it too. I don't watch a lot of UFO documentaries because to me, it's, for a long time there, and this is no offense to the people involved, but it was the same people saying the same thing under a different title each and every time you watched. So you could have UFOs and aliens documentary over here, and you would see, back in the day, Jim Mars, Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe, Stanton Friedman, and you'd see all these people. Then there'd be another one over here that's titled Aliens and UFOs, and then you would see Richard Dolan. It seemed like every documentary had the same people in it. I got burnt out by that, and that's no offense to Richard Dolan or Linda Moulton Howe or any of these people who have been paving the way for people like you and me to be able to discuss these topics openly. It's just, you want something new. And I just hope we just don't have a bunch of talking heads saying the same thing. I worked in ABC position at Langley or in DC, and this is what I heard. This is what I saw.
Yeah.
They are here. They are real. We have to take this more seriously, and we need to research this. There is a threat narrative. I mean, is that what we're going to be watching, or are we going to be watching, these fine people who've dedicated their lives to public service come out and say something completely different that may awestruck us?
So, like we talked about on Monday, I don't think the documentary is for the community. I think it's for the broad reaching masses, the people on the fringes that are interested in the topic, but have not really heard anything to date that has swayed them, to really be, invested in the topic. I think we're going to hear what you said.
Yes.
The first thing you said.
Here's the thing that I want to combat what you just said, though, if you don't mind.
All right.
In a polite Canadian way.
Yeah.
I'm getting really tired of people saying that it's not for our community. And I agree with you when you say that. I do agree with you. But for some reason, this is one of the only fields that I know where you literally disassociate yourself from those who support you. I remember Lou Elizondo telling me on a phone conversation that one of the biggest mistakes the To the Stars Academy made was that they underestimated the level of passion and the vigor that the UFO community had. They had all of that support. They were the only ones financially contributing to the stars. And yet the To the Stars Academy basically said, we want nothing to do with the UFO field. And he said that was one of the biggest mistakes. We've seen Skywatcher do that. Enigma Labs doesn't want anything to do with it, ufology, even though they want all of your reports, even if they have to steal them, allegedly, from other groups. Okay? All of these big-name government people, even the SCU, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, they don't want anything to do with the UFO community. This is the only field I know that continues to push away the people that you love. It. Could you imagine? Choose your favorite sports team. Okay. I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan. I'm a hockey fan. I don't really have an NFL team that I cheer for because I just like watching good football players and good football. But let's just say, let's pick a team here. Let's say the Buffalo Bills because of Josh Allen. If all of a sudden the Buffalo Bills said, hey, we know there are a ton of people, millions of people around the United States and North America and fans of NFL who love our team. They love Josh Allen, but we don't care about them. We don't want them buying jerseys. We don't want their support. We don't want anything to do with them. That would be kind of foolish for the league to do.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what's happening here. Like, if I take your analogy, I think those areas want they want the support of the UFO community. It would be like if the Buffalo Bills said, we're going to have a ticket discount sale for people who have never been to a Buffalo Bills game before. That would be the analogy, right? We're gonna do a promotion that is intended for people who have never been to a game. They've never watched one of our games. All the fans would probably be upset because, hey, why can't I get a ticket promotion? You know, I've been a loyal fan for blah, blah, blah years. But the attempt is to gain new fans, right? To sell more tickets to new fans. And if you take that same analogy and apply it to this documentary, that's what it's for. It's there. And I'm going to revise my statement a little bit. I'm going to say that it's not for me and you or other people who are very well versed in the UFO topic. There are probably a lot of people in the UFO community who don't know, every case, who don't know every abduction, who don't know all the details and the ins and outs and everything, and they'll probably get quite a bit out of the documentary. Things that you and I will probably watch the documentary and say, "Oh yeah, we've heard all this stuff before." So when I say it's not really meant for our community, I mean it's not really meant for the researchers and investigators in the community, the people who are very deep in the trenches. Let's say, wake up to, alerts on their phone about UFO stuff and go to bed to the same. It's not meant for them, but it is an attempt, I think, to get more people who have not ever really considered the topic to be interested in the topic. Those people who still hold some level of reverence for the people in government who, for better or for worse, do, kind of go into that public servant type role, or military people, or whatever the case may be, or CIA people. I mean, you can take somebody who was a janitor at the CIA and all of a sudden they retire and they start talking about UFOs, and they must know something because they worked at the CIA. So I really think that's what it's really all about is, it'll be, if I think about it from a concentric circle perspective, there'll be people in the community that benefit from it, but there'll be a lot of people outside of the community, especially if it gets covered, if it gets wide coverage. I loved that when Lou Elizondo came out with his book, whatever you might feel about his book and the content within it, I love that when he came out with it, he was on he was on The View, and he was on, the show on Comedy Central. I can't think of what it's called right now, but, he was interviewed on all these different mainstream things, and people gave it, at least on the show, they seemed to give it, real merit. That, here's this guy who ran this program from the government. We heard about it in 2017. He's written a book about it. So if the documentary gets that level of coverage, then I think it may pick up people who, again, have not really given it a fair shake.
I will agree to disagree with you
Okay.
politely on that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think what you say has an incredible amount of merit to it. But I look at it as, in anything that you do, there is strength in numbers.
Mhm.
And if you have a large community that is willing to go to bat for you, support you, spread your word around, it goes a lot farther than saying, like using your football analogy, which I loved, by saying, okay, all you season ticket holders, all you big name fans, you're not allowed at this game. This is the ticket promotion for just people who we're trying to attract to the subject. The chances of you actually having that stadium full for those people is slim to none. You might fill half, you might fill three quarters, but there's going to be a lot of empty seats.
Right.
If you have a community supporting you, you're building a wall of strength. And a lot of these groups, I think, take for granted the passion and the desire that the UFO community has for transparency, for disclosure, and moving that ball forward, that they tend to forget about that. They see the crap that happens on X and all the drama, and they're like, I don't want any part of that. Well, that's only maybe 100 people that are jumping in on that. Say 200, 300, whatever it may be. But there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, outside of that little X world that are passionate about this subject. They do believe, they want to learn more, but they don't know where to turn because of the drama of being pushed away, not being informed, so on and so forth. So that would be my rebuttal to what you're saying, as we have about a minute and a half to go here.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say that, it's the old adage, there's no such thing as bad press. So if all the researchers and investigators and the folks like me and you, we all watch the documentary, and we go on our shows, we talk about how, they covered the same stuff that's been covered in every UAP hearing since they got started. That's still us talking about it. We still watch the documentary, we're still talking about it. And something we might say in a complaint about the documentary may still drive someone to go and look it up and watch it, and then again bring more people into the fold. So I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with some of the comments you said. I just think that it's easy to feel like we're getting left out in the cold when we're maybe assuming that that's the case.
Well, that is going to have to continue another day for another conversation on that. But UFO Wizard, it is always great having you on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for another great report as we say goodnight to Josh. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Way to go, Josh. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun.
Yep. Still didn't get to some of the things that I had for Monday even, but that's all right.
Hey, man, we will get to them.
I'll just continue to add to the list.
Did you see on X Alejandro Rojas going after Elizondo?
No. I did not see that.
Pretty much calling him deceitful.
Interesting.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's always drama, period. But then there's also just like a different level of drama within the UFO community, and I think it's because sometimes people, we don't allow people to make mistakes, especially when they're of a certain level of a perceived authority. We just assume that they have to be right all the time. Yeah, he shared a chandelier. I mean, he made a mistake. At least he owned up to it. He didn't like try to double down and say, "Oh no, it's not a chandelier."
We call that around here an unidentified lighting phenomena, which you can get the T-shirt at our store on our website.
So I mean, I think we hold our perceived heroes to a higher standard than we hold anybody else. And whether you think that Elizondo is a hero of the topic or not, you probably have someone who you think is that way, and you hold them to a higher standard. And maybe that's not realistic, because at the end of the day, they're just human like you and I, and they're going to make mistakes. The other thing I don't, that I find a lot of is that people, especially in our community, have like their own opinions on what things are, and they're unwilling to budge from those opinions. And so anybody who comes out with information that pushes against the boundaries, or maybe even contradicts their opinions at all, they just rebel against. So yeah, it's a tough situation. And unfortunately, because of social media, those kind of feuds get aired out in front of everybody.
I would agree with you on that. I would totally agree with you on that. But it is a subject that isn't going to die. That's for sure.
No, it's not going to die. It's been a I would say a topic of conversation probably for thousands of years. I mean, going back to, there's references in historical texts in the Bible even about, things that are in the sky, like wheels in the sky. I mean, stuff like that. So the fact that it's been around for that long, it's been talked about for that long, it's not going anywhere. The mystery will always be there, and there always will be people like us trying to solve it.
That is the main thing, my friend. Appreciate you for tonight, my man.
Yep.
I know
I'm gonna
you
take off.
You got to get up for work in the morning, so get the kids ready for school. So I appreciate you staying up late with us.
Yep.
We will talk to you on Monday night.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Josh Rutledge, the wizard, everybody. We got to get him a hat. We need to get him a wizard hat. We definitely do. See you, Chief. Appreciate you. He's such a good guy. Skip to Malou, good morning to you. Rashid, nice to see you. Wow, we're still at a 404 on X. That's amazing. 515 people watching live right now. The reason why I have to turn my back to you is because my radio computer screen is right here. This is the one that sends everything to the... Oh, come on. Where are you? Get control of your hand. This one here sends everything to our radio station's podcasts. So that's why we have to have that there. And I wanted a cleaner desk. I didn't want a lot of things on my desk, so I just figured I'd put it behind me. So just putting it behind me. That's it. Just putting it behind me. That's all I can do. Today would have been my grandfather's 101st birthday, but he just didn't make it, unfortunately. Old Bill there, he checked out at 70 years old. Young man. Good man. Good man, but a young man. Hi, Jessica Davenport. Human Carl with a great comment. The only reason why I would like a disclosure is to appease my inner child. I want to be able to say to some people, there, I told you so. Na 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 na. I love it, Human Carl. Love it. Bad Cop, how you doing? I don't like anybody who is a fake journalist. Admit you're a citizen journalist, that's great, but too many people have tried to make claims of being a real journalist, an investigative journalist. If you here's one thing that I did to one of these people who was claiming to be an investigative journalist. I saw them online making that claim. So I posted underneath, I said, you've never been a journalist. If you have been a journalist, please do us a favor and tell us, what beat did you work? Did you work in radio? Did you work in television? Did you work in newspapers? What was your beat? What was your main topic that you covered? 99.9% of them do not have that answer. So if you want to rat out a fake journalist, that's how you do it. And working, that you joined one of your buddies online, websites. Okay. And you just started doing a little bit of writing or blogging for them. It's not journalism. It's not. And trust me when I say this, citizen journalism is just as important as citizen science. It's important for what people are doing to help get the message out, especially with the lack of trust and confidence in mainstream media today. It is more important than ever. But I will say this, guys, you have to be careful who you are listening to for content, because people who are not real journalists but play one online, there are rules and guidelines that as a real journalist you have to follow. And if they're not following the guidelines of being professional, telling point counterpoint, and claiming they have sources but are not quoting those sources properly, you'll be able to tell. You'll be able to tell. I know there's 2 fake journalists out there who got television shows claiming they were investigative journalists and have never worked a day in journalism. A lot of people will say I'm whining or complaining. I'm not. All I'm trying to do is get you guys the proper information. Be careful who you get your info from, right? That's all. I mean, if somebody were to claim, let's say I wasn't a journalist, but I wanted to claim myself as being a citizen journalist, not a problem. Not a problem whatsoever. Okay, because citizen journalism is important. Right? I will not Paramarv. I will say one man, one woman. It's like when, to put it to another extent, and Joe, you kind of bring it up there, okay, for a little bit. Joe says, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. That's kind of what we're talking about here, right? It's like, how many people, we all have that family member or friend who will put down physicians, but will play Google doctor, and they know all of a sudden everything about medicine and healing and everything that to diagnose you, It's the same way or same thing. So just be careful who you're paying attention to. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to, but it really is up to you. I'm still pumped up from the show. That Laslo was amazing. I really, really geeked out over this one. Mhm. You know how you can tell that I'm still pretty geeked up for tonight's show? Is that I'm still on the air. Normally, I'm really tired after a show these days. And I, tell you guys, hey, I'm just going to cut it off early. But that's why I haven't yet. Tomorrow night on the show, Brandon Gayhart joins us to tell some spooky stories. We're going to learn all about his creepy stories and adventures. So it's a paranormal night tomorrow night on the show. Thank you, Jessica. Needs to be cleaned up a little bit. It's been a couple of weeks. Two seconds, guys. All right, there we go. There we go. It's a good time. Good time. Thank you, Human Carl. Appreciate you, buddy. Good old Human Carl. We love him around here. I am so good news. I am going to investigate with my buddy Mark. You guys have seen Mark in our chat room before. He goes under Timber Hunter. Him and I are going out to Flight 21 on Sunday. So I am going to be trying to make a video for that. The audio, I will tell you right now, will be absolutely terrible because I don't have microphones. Those were Tim's microphones we were using. And I'm still using an iPhone 13. And I'm going to be upgrading my phones, get the new connector wire thing that goes in there. And I'm going to end up getting myself some of those microphones too. So it is back. Hopefully Mark will find a little bit more time than he has had in order to do this. And update on Tim. Tim is feeling a little bit better. Not much, but he is feeling a little bit better. He's still got some high blood pressure that he needs to deal with, but he is, hopefully on the road to a little bit more recovery. All right. Jessica, the Vegas meetup for Spaced Out Radio will be May 21st to 25th. We have not chosen a location yet, but we are going to be probably in the next couple months doing that. And that will be a lot of fun. And what else can I tell you here? Let's see here. It's probably either going to be one of 3 locations because I try and look for affordability as well. Okay. But still in a popular area. So it'll either be at the Luxor at New York, or we'll go back to the Golden Nugget or somewhere around Fremont Street. One of the 3. And then I want you guys, I know there's a bunch of you who had inquired about tickets for the Caribou Con up in September here. I believe we're going to be announcing probably next week. The website's not up and running yet. But we're going to be probably announcing next week the first the first number of the first speakers that we will be dealing with. So that'll be fun. Any update on Lolly? Paramarv. Any update on the native lady that went out? Lolly, yeah. I talked to Lolly. Her son and I, or pardon me, her son and my son play hockey together. They're not on the same team. Hi, Miriam. But she's really lost a lot of confidence. She's going through a spiritual battle right now. So it has nothing to do with Flight 21. It has to do with something happening in her personal life. So I'm trying to help her build her confidence back up because I really want her to be more part of this because of the instant results we got from her. But we're working on that. Who asked a question here? Stargazer, is Mark ready spiritually for Flight 21? 100%. Mark, outside of Tim, Mark has probably investigated Flight 21 as much as Tim. Mark was there the first time we ever went out there in 2018. Him and I have been out there numerous times without any recordings. He was our armed guard when we were filming last year with Samantha and Merle. He is extremely familiar with the area. The phenomena has cleared him to be there. So it is a little interesting, because I haven't investigated with Mark in, whoa, goodness, over a year. Paramarv, I don't think Lolly is ready to be a guest. She's a very humble, semi-introverted person. So, I mean, if I can get her on the Flight 21 team full time, maybe next year, then I would look at bringing her on the show and talk to her about it. But she's not ready yet. All right, oh goodness, I forgot to hit transfer or add this in here. What am I doing? Oh, transfer. My goodness. Forgot to hit transfer. Well, okay, that one is done. Email sent. Okay. That one is done. 6 files. Okay. That one is done. That one is done. All right. Maybe Derek, we've tried bringing people who aren't cleared, including my father, and the results are not there. It's like they don't even want. It's like they're not even bothered. Like, really, who you bringing this stranger here? We didn't allow them to be here. You didn't clear this with us. George, Flight 21 is an investigative site that I have out in the forest here with a plane crash that happened in 1965. And so that's what it is. Stargazer, if it spooks you out online, you should see how it is when you're there. Do I feel sick when I come home from that place? No, I've never felt sick. I have, pardon me. Let me just fix this here. Hold on. I have in the past felt shut down. I have felt at times uncomfortable, but I've never felt like stomach sick when we got home. And if we did, like the one time when Tim and I had a hitchhiker hop on with us, we immediately got on the phone. When we got into cell phone service, we immediately got on the phone with Robin, and Robin was able to clear us. So that was pretty good. It is way too quiet. There's a lot of animals moving right now because not only are they preparing for winter, especially the bears, but it's also getting closer to rutting season. So there's a lot going on right now out in the forest. So we got to be real careful. And Mark, who's coming with me, I have a lot of trust in him and his abilities in the forest. The guy is like an outdoor guru, survivalist. So that'll be good. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm going to head off to bed. But I want to say a big thank you for all of you tuning us in tonight. We really appreciate it. Once again, Brandon Gayhart tomorrow night, Spooky Stories. And thank you tonight to Human Carl, to Matthew Goodka, Necessary Dialogue, Pam Harris, Kurt W., and Area 54 for the super chats. Thank you to Shelly for becoming our latest member on our YouTube channel. And thank you to all of our new subscribers. We love you as we are now pushing and moving closer every day to 30,000 subscribers on this channel. And thank you, guys. We'll talk to you soon. And don't forget to tell a friend. See you tomorrow night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.